because a lot of them was their first time in the playoffs. Well, they look comfortable now, Bonte. All right, they held the Warriors to 107 points, but a lot of this game was them pushing the Warriors to the three-point line. The depth, the length, the physicality really bothered the Warriors. They got every loose ball, every second chance points. They were running. The Warriors just looked uncomfortable, and this was a prime opportunity for the Warriors to advance and get the home court advantage. Now you lost that advantage. You have to go to Houston and take it now.
I mean, the Warriors completely lost all momentum that they had in this series. They've lost two opportunities to close this game out, and it came down to the Warriors not looking on the same page from the get-go. You can start with that play to start the game with Draymond Green and Jalen Green. That was very distracting to start. But if you looked at the offense, they settled for tough shots all night long. Rather than getting into the zone, trying to find shots that were easier, they gave up shots. There was no spacing on the floor. And then defensively, they struggled to contain the dribble penetration. The Warriors just looked a little bit out of sorts, even though they found themselves just within two at the end of the third. It was kind of crazy.
Yeah, Steve Kerr started a defensive lineup, and we all thought maybe GP2 to slow Fred VanVleet down. Fred VanVleet had an incredible game once again, dynamic with 29 points. All their starters were phenomenal, and Dillon Brooks didn't even play that well tonight. Think about this. They made 35 field goals and 33 free throws. So Udoka throughout there seemed to click. You know, he went with a smaller line for a little bit with Jabari Smith, more offense. He went with Steven Adams. And now, even with Steve Kerr employing this hacker Kiwi, I think Ime Udoka showed much confidence leading into next game by leaving him in there. Lo and behold, he winds up having a double-figure game. So, as you said, Bonte, I think the Rockets have controlled this series entirely, but one game, all that can switch. And the Warriors have that experience. They got that championship DNA. But, as Fitz just mentioned, you're going to have to shoot the ball way better than 41% from the field to beat this team.
41% in the last three games the Warriors have shot. And Fezzi, real quick, before we get to the fourth quarter tape, the balance on offense. 49 of their 90
shot chart for the Houston Rockets. It's all within around the rim.
Yep.
They were dunking everything. They were getting backdoors. Yep. They were getting offensive rebounds. That was their game plan. But for the Warriors, they couldn't get anything inside. Steven Adams was blocking everything. The way you get him out the game is the hack of Kiwi. And what does he do? 9 for 16 from the free throw line. Big fella was cooking tonight.
No doubt about that. Let's roll this fourth quarter tape because, as Ina mentioned, the Warriors are only down by a bucket. They had to feel fortunate to only be down 2 entering the final 12 minutes of this Game 6. But Fred VanVleet, right off the rip, 6 seconds into the fourth quarter, hits a three, and we'll get to his three-point numbers over the last 3 games in just a second. Jalen Green with a drive baseline, but again, an offensive rebound by the Houston Rockets. They had 11 offensive rebounds. He puts it back up, and then Shannon going to work against Jimmy Butler. This is a tough guy. 21 points, 14 rebounds, 6 assists. Alperon Shannon has gotten more comfortable by the game than Amen Thompson. You can't say enough about this kid. He's a superstar in the making. 14.7 rebounds for him, attacking the paint. And the Rockets would open up a double-digit lead. And on the season, Zena, when the Rockets, when they build a 10-point lead at any point during the game, they are now 51-8.
It's sustainability. They have the legs, they have the youth, they have the athleticism to be able to keep the same energy that got them into that position of having a 10-point lead. And as Melly mentioned, regardless of who was out there, you got production. And that could not be said about the Warriors. That was the difference in the game. The role players stepped up, whether they were on the bench for the Rockets or where they were in peripheral of Fred VanVleet and Dillon Brooks and whomever. You saw production out of the role players.
Well, on the other hand, you just had Steph and Jimmy Butler offensively for the Warriors. Moses Moody chipped in, and he had a great night, solid off the bench. He made a solid statement for him to get back in the starting lineup. But I feel like the Warriors couldn't buy a basket from any of their role players, really lacking the offensive flow that got them here in the first place. It seemed like they just stood on the three-point line jacking three-point shots. There's a lot of driving kicks. There's a lot of throwing into Jimmy on the block, split action. All those things were missing because of Houston Rockets' physicality.
But Malik, give the Rockets credit. They got a lot of deflections with their zone, playing the pass with some of the non-shooters on the Golden State Warriors. And Steph Curry with the inefficient 9-23 performance from the field to 6-16 from 3. You have to give the Rockets all the credit in the world. Their defense still stepped up, especially in that fourth quarter.
Yeah, the defense stepped up. I thought they did a really good job. Look, the Warriors wound up getting 12 more field goal attempts, 90-78. But not quality shots. As Festus said, a lot of rushed, contested threes. I thought the Rockets did a really good job having the Warriors offense really out by half court. You know, late 26 assists. That's a big number for the Rockets. That's not a great, it's a decent number for the Warriors, but they want to be at 30 or above. But you looked at those clips, you know, they were very content of having Şengün go one-on-one, you know, picking out some mismatches. At the other end,
and Fred VanVleet has single-handedly changed this series. The first couple games, we all thought, well, he may be unplayable. Why isn't Jabari Smith Jr. playing more? But over the last 3 games, Fred VanVleet is 18 to 27.
Exploded. He's found his three-point shot. He's playing in rhythm. And he really started that barrage in the fourth quarter. I mean, that was like 4 seconds into the fourth. He made that 4-point play.
Zena, championship DNA he's displaying.
I was just going to say, this does give me 2019 feels. Just a little bit. He's getting real comfortable. And the thing that I love about Fred VanVleet's play tonight,